Welcome to Iowa One Call's 2022 Excavation Safety Awareness Program. Thanks for joining today's online meeting. This year marks a return to in-person meetings, but of course we're supplementing those in-person meetings with these online Zoom meetings. In 2020, we were able to complete 10 of the 17 scheduled meetings, having to cancel the remaining meetings on March 11th due to the onset of the COVID virus. The 2021 meetings were conducted all via virtual meetings through the Zoom platform. This is the official invitation that was sent out. If you attended one of these virtual meetings last year, Iowa One Call thanks you and hopes it was a worthwhile experience. In-person meetings are definitely preferable to virtual meetings. But it turns out the Zoom virtual meetings platform can be a viable contingency when public gatherings are not possible. It provides another educational and outreach alternative, allows stakeholders to bring Iowa One Call into their meetings, and provides Iowa One Call presentations and training to smaller groups. In fact, 2022 is a hybrid program, with 10 in-person meetings conducted in January and 6 Zoom meetings conducted this month. And that brings us to today's presentation, an industry update on what is most relevant based on the most current statistics, trends, and issues. And then we'll discuss moving forward. Looking at the 2021 ticket transmissions, and that's the total tickets transmitted from the center. In 2021, and this is through October, the total transmissions was 3,106,840, and that's compared to 2020 through October, when we had 3,088,718, and that's an increase of more than 18,000. This is significant because 2020 was historically the highest volume on record for Iowa One Call. Looking at the comparisons between 2020 and 2019 transmissions, we see that in 2020 there was more than 3.5 million, and in 2019 just a little over 3.1 million, for an increase of more than 400,000. In Iowa, this trend has been ongoing since the early 2000s, and the graph shows the skyrocketing trajectory of increasing ticket transmissions, which directly correlates to increases in locating demands. And all indications are that this trend will continue for the foreseeable future. We know that overall, the construction industry continues to do well, with forecasted growth through 2022 and beyond, especially within the residential and commercial construction sectors. And the fiber optic market especially is booming with exponential expansion as communication companies race to get their fiber overbuilds completed, with no slowdowns expected for the next several years. In fact, in Iowa, Governor Reynolds has approved using $300 million in federal grants towards expanding the communications infrastructure. In 2021, the governor approved $200 million for rural fiber overbuilds. And that's in addition to the previous fiber grants in Iowa for $100 million. All of this equates to exponential growth in excavations, which increases the demands for locating, which in turn creates new challenges for the locating companies and underground facility operators, including more personnel, more training, more vehicles and equipment, more planning, scheduling, and more time constraints, and all of this amid extreme workforce challenges. It should come as no surprise that the most reported issue to Iowa One Call in 2021 was locating delays. From May through July last year, the recorded non-responses or delayed tickets from the top 3 utilities was a staggering 14,325. Not only did this severely impact construction and excavation work schedules, it also created significant issues at the Iowa One Call Notification Center, where call center staff had to be diverted from taking calls in order to field the influx of complaints from disgruntled excavators, which in turn created longer hold times and longer processing times. Locating delays were by far the most significant complaints to the Iowa Attorney General's office last year. This resulted in enforcement proceedings, with warning letters being sent to the top 6 Iowa utilities, warning them that failure to comply with future locating and marking requirements will result in enforcement actions. This is a redacted version of the official letter that was sent out from the Iowa Attorney General's office, which spelled out the specific code violations pertaining to providing timely and accurate locate markings, as well as the statutory penalty provisions. The issues relating to locating delays is an industry-wide problem with no singular cause and, unfortunately, with no immediate solution. To gain a better perspective and understanding of some of the root causes, here's a brief video featuring the perspectives of various stakeholders.
We have noticed a significant increase in complaints about untimely locating. Some of that may be due in part to increased visibility of our online complaint process for untimely locates, but it also may be part of a larger, more systemic problem. Our office, in partnership with the Iowa Utilities Board, will be investigating the complaints and other data to determine whether there are violations of the one-call law, and if so, what's causing the violations and what the consequences should be.
This year has been the bigger challenge in getting these locates done in the ways of, it used to be sometimes just a few hours, or maybe by the end of the day some of these might happen to delay us, but now it's become days, or in some instances I'll send in a locate and it will never get located until I finally go back and have to relocate it again.
I know as an industry, I know there's been a lot of problems and issues as far as on-time performance from locates. I know that as far as Vanguard goes, we do a lot of our due diligence in the wintertime, and a lot of the effort that goes into it is for trying to find the volume that we had the previous year, where the resources need to be the following year, what projects are going to be coming up this upcoming dig season. One of our biggest issues is when we don't know when projects are coming to our footprint, and all of a sudden 10 bore rigs show up, or 15 or 20 or 30 bore rigs show up. That puts a lot of stress on our locators, which means that we have to turn around and hire some more people. We have to get them trained and up to speed. That can take anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 weeks to get people up to speed. Depends on their ability. But when these projects come into town, it's going to take us some time, and all of a sudden it's going to suck up our resources. And when our resources are being utilized for projects that we didn't know about, that's going to pull our resources from other tickets that we knew that were going to be coming in.
If it's a new job that needs located, it's possible we could have 3 pieces of equipment with 3 to 5 guys that are sitting there doing nothing, but potentially that could turn into a job that has 20 or 30 pieces of equipment, and each one of those pieces of equipment and each one of those operators and laborers and foremen that aren't working, that costs the companies tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, in downtime. There's no way to recoup that loss. We have to eat it. We can't bill our customer for that time because we're not doing anything. We're not in production. We have no way to recoup that money from the utility companies because they're third partying, or they're having someone locate, and there's just no way to recoup that loss of monetary income from our equipment not being able to move and our people sitting around that we more than likely have to pay while they're on the site.
Today we're still operating under the old rules and laws that One Call Systems had set up back in the early 1990s. The locating and the excavation is not the same as it was back in those days.
In the year 2000, the center received approximately 350,000 dig requests, and that generated about 1.8 million notifications out to utilities. In the year 2020, those numbers about doubled, and then the outgoing transmissions from the center were about 3.5 million. So quite an increase over the years.
We do know that there's more and more infrastructure coming. There's more and more things getting put in the ground all the time, whether it be from communications to water, to sewer, to gas. There's just more and more and more. And this isn't the time for communication failures on the field side and our side. We need to work together some way and figure out a way to make it all come together.
The best case scenario is that the excavator will work with our employees. But there are times that we have the peaks. There are peaks on Tuesdays and Wednesdays where the volume goes way up, and then the longer jobs come in, the longer jobs that the locators or a company as myself didn't even know that were going to be coming. And so the phone call gets made to an excavator, hey, can you work with us? Can you give us a little extra time to get this completed? That is a big help for us when those things occur.
If it's something we can delay and they can't get there that day or maybe the next, we're flexible enough to be able to handle that.
There are very few exceptions that allow a locate to be completed outside of 48 hours. One of the primary ways that it can be completed outside 48 hours is where they've agreed to a marking schedule. However, that needs to be mutual. A locator cannot unilaterally agree to a marking schedule that they have not conferred with and confirmed with the excavator to ensure the locates could occur outside the 48 hours.
We're just not getting the communication between the locators and ourselves, and they're just not showing up. There's a response on the locate request that the locators will put down, whether it's no access, limited access, or they don't understand what we're asking for. And then they make a remark at the bottom that says, well, we talked to such and such, or we couldn't get a hold of the person on the ticket, and it's simply not true.
It is incumbent when statusing tickets in the electronic positive response system that the information provided and the status selected is accurate and complies with the law.
We put our information on the locate tickets for a reason, and we want those locators to call us, communicate with us, and let's get a resolution to a time and a date as to when we can get these locates done and done on time, as opposed to us having to go back and formally, legally complain to the Attorney General's office or with the utilities even.
The best thing an excavator could do would be to work with the locators in the field, to give them the time that they ask for, help them, be flexible, communicate with them, respect them, and take care of what they're asking for. They're going to do everything they can to take care of you. I think that the locators that are in the field on a daily basis sometimes get beat up, kicked around a little bit. It makes it a little bit harder on them to take care of the excavators that they are communicating with. But I would ask that you work with them the best you possibly can. They're going to work for you the best that they possibly can. And they do realize or do know, because we talk about it consistently, and that is that you are their customer. The utilities might pay the locating bill, but you as an excavator are their customer.
The success of the Iowa One Call notification system depends on the stakeholders, especially the excavators and the locators. So the due diligence of all of the stakeholders is crucial to the Iowa One Call's damage prevention system.
Compliance with Iowa's One Call law is required. But above that, the law is designed to protect people and provide for safe excavating practices. So the law is there to both protect you as well as others.
That's why it's so important for these companies to come in and get these things located. It's always for a safety standpoint.
This video, while not providing any immediate solutions to the problem, does reveal the dilemma faced by excavators and locators, and this can be useful in understanding why the problem exists. And while the industry grapples with finding solutions to mitigating locating delays, it is more important than ever before that tried and true measures be employed whenever possible, such as excavators planning their locating needs by managing excavation start times, by preventing unnecessary or unreasonably large locate requests, and by preventing unnecessary relocates. To assist with the planning phase, Iowa One Call has implemented a new pilot program, the Dynamic Start Time option. And there is the agreed to marking schedule option that, when used properly, can help mitigate locating delays. There is the new online electronic joint meet tool that was implemented in the fall of last year, and the ITIC NextGen online ticketing system, which provides a truly effective approach to mitigating locating delays by providing users with precision mapping tools, as well as the required white lining requirement that also helps to eliminate confusing, inadequate excavation site descriptions. Additionally, there are legal requirements designed to help mitigate unnecessary relocates, including the requirements that excavators maintain the original locate markings and establish suitable reference points based on the original markings. Excavators can request relocates, but only after reasonable attempts have been made to maintain the markings and after suitable reference points have been established. The new dynamic start time option is an Iowa One Call pilot program launched January 5th of this year. It's based on Minnesota's dynamic high volume alert notice. This is a voluntary option to excavators. The idea is to delay or push out the proposed excavation start time. Currently, this program is being implemented statewide, but it is customizable by county or geographically depending on volume. It can be turned on or off at certain times of the year to accommodate for peak dig season. It also provides customizable messages for unseen circumstances and conditions. The intent of this option is that it may allow more time than the required 48 hours. Here's a look at a general flow chart for the dynamic start time system. Once a notice is initiated, the system automatically calculates the 48-hour start time, which remains in the background. On the ticket submission page, the start date is left empty, and the user must complete or enter that time and date. It's at this time the user is presented with a message to consider extending the start time. If the excavator is inclined to do so, they may use a calendar feature to select an extended start time, which will then override the original 48-hour default. The maximum extension is 14 business days, and any unavailable days such as weekends and holidays will be grayed out. Should the user choose to opt out of selecting an extended time, the excavation start time will then default to the original 48-hour timeline. Here is an example of a message the user may receive at the time of notice. In an effort to enhance locating efficiency, please consider extending your project start date and time. A minimum of 48 hours is required, but providing additional time may help mitigate possible delays. Simply select a date and time applicable to your needs by extending the start time by a half day up to 14 business days. To recap the pilot program, it began January 5th, 2022. Currently, it's implemented daily, statewide, and data is being collected and analyzed by the Iowa One Call Board. The system will be left on if the results are determined by the board to be positive. Due to the statutory exception mandated in the Iowa Code for agreements between excavators and underground facility operators, the dynamic start time option must be implemented in conjunction with the agreed to marking schedule option. This means locators can still request an agreed to marking schedule even if an excavator has already extended their excavation start time. Keep in mind, all agreements between locators and excavators must be mutual, and all agreements must be verifiable and documented. System abuse is subject to enforcement actions through the Iowa Attorney General's Office. The Iowa Attorney General's Office is actively monitoring the Iowa One Call system and has pledged that falsifying locate agreements is an enforceable violation of the law. Another program that can help with mitigating locating delays is the online electronic joint meet process, which replaces the old phone-in version that necessarily involved calling into the call center to coordinate joint meets. This new streamlined process includes new features and expedites the process of coordinating joint meets. Users can visit the Iowa One Call website at iowaonecall.com, where on the home page a link is displayed. Clicking on the link will take the user to the resource page, featuring a video tutorial and a manual with detailed instructions on usage. The online system allows users to create a parent appointment ticket, which can be extensive and very broad in geographic scope, covering an entire worksite. The user can then schedule an on-site meeting with locators by specifying a date and time based on the available time slots provided through the system. The system will then automatically split the parent ticket into multiple tickets based on the geographic mapping rules established by Iowa One Call. The main parent ticket will remain intact. At this time, the user will be asked to provide locate marking instructions based on any proposed excavation on each of the split tickets, specific to the needs of the areas where excavation activity may or may not be planned. This allows excavators and locators better management of the locates and locating process. The system will prompt the user for an optional project number. This is not necessary, but it can help excavators match excavation projects to locate tickets. Additionally, the system will prompt users to attach optional information uploads via various file formats, allowing for the exchange of maps, plans, blueprints, and/or any other piece of information that may help to expedite the locating and marking process. Again, this is not necessary, but it is a new and useful option. The system will assign the required 48-hour excavation begin date based on the time the user specifies the joint meet will take place. In other words, the 48 hours starts at the time of the meet. The system will then transmit the completed tickets to all affected underground facility operators. And all underground facility operators contacted will provide positive response when the markings are completed. Here is an example of a large and complicated proposed excavation polygon. Without a proper breakout of the area with detailed marking instructions, this could take a locator or locators days to complete. With the new joint meet process, the parent ticket encapsulates the entire project, but the split tickets define the specific parts or areas of the parent ticket. In this example, the excavator may be starting their project in the area of ticket F and not advancing to the areas of ticket D and B for several days, with work not scheduled in the other areas such as ticket A and C until the following week. It may even be possible that some areas covered by the split tickets could be cleared. Additionally, if relocates are necessary, this process allows an excavator to call for relocates only in the ticket areas where activity is taking place, thus eliminating unnecessary relocates. The online electronic joint meet process provides for a better ticket management process. It provides for on-site pre-construction meetings between excavators and locators. Excavators are allowed to manage the entire parent ticket as a whole or manage individual breakout areas or tickets. Excavators can request locates only in areas of current activity. This eliminates the need to relocate the entire excavation site, and this enhances communication between excavators and locators. The online process also eliminates the time and hassle of the old process when the excavator had to use the telephone to call into the call center. Of all of the programs and processes available through Iowa One Call, the NextGen online ticketing system by far provides the most effective tools for expediting the locating process. The program's state-of-the-art mapping system maximizes efficiency and clarity by providing precision mapping, which helps to eliminate confusing, inadequate excavation site descriptions, and when used properly, it decreases the need to whiteline the proposed excavation area and helps to mitigate locating delays by providing clear, precise information. More than 80% of all locate requests coming into Iowa One Call are now being done online. If you haven't utilized this system yet, we encourage you to do so by going to the Iowa One Call website at iowaonecall.com and clicking on the Excavators link. You'll then be asked to establish a username and password. Once you submit that, you'll promptly receive a confirmation email from the center. Then you're ready to begin using the system. Start by typing in the address or a location description of the proposed excavation. The system will recognize addresses, streets, nearest intersections, townships, etc. A detailed map of the proposed excavation area will be populated in either a graphic or satellite format. The satellite format shown here provides the most intuitive visual experience. One of the most important features is the zoom function, which allows the user to zoom in for a more defined view of the area. The satellite imagery provides a remarkable level of detail. When used properly, this is a key function of virtual whitelining. Users can select from multiple mapping tools to provide precise visual references to where a proposed excavation will occur. For example, the circle tool is ideal for smaller excavations located in one or multiple areas on the property. The route tool is excellent for describing linear projects. Compare the difference between those precisely detailed references to one that encompasses the entire property or parcel. Whereas a locator may need to spend multiple hours locating an entire parcel, they can expedite the process or even clear the ticket altogether when they are provided clear, precise descriptive information. In addition to the programs designed to mitigate locating delays, there are several code requirements specifically written and designed to mitigate locating issues. Excavators must maintain the locate markings at all times throughout the excavation. That's Iowa Code Section 484-4. Excavators must pre-mark the area of proposed excavation in white, what we know as white lining. That's Code Section 484-1E. A statutory exception to this requirement can be when an excavator provides clear, precise descriptive information through communications, virtual white lining, or during an online pre-construction meeting. Excavators must establish suitable reference points based on the original locate markings as stated in Iowa Code 480.44. There is a legal exception to the locating and marking requirements as it pertains to the required 48-hour timeline. Operators and locators by law must complete the locating and marking within 48 hours, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, except unless otherwise agreed upon by the operator and the excavator. This is why the system provides an agreed-to marking schedule option. Only when a locator has contacted an excavator and coordinated a mutually agreed-upon alternative marking schedule, the locator may then use the electronic positive response system to record the marking status code agreed to marking schedule. The locator must provide proper documentation when submitting this status code, including the name of the excavator the agreement was made with, the phone number of the excavator whom the agreement was made with, the date and time when the alternative marking schedule arrangement was made, the new agreed-to marking schedule time, and the locator's credentials. It should be noted that, moving forward, the Iowa Attorney General's Office will closely monitor the agreed-to marking schedule process. This was clearly stated by Assistant Iowa Attorney General Jacob Larson during the previous video segment in this presentation. The positive response system provides locators with multiple locating and marking status codes to be used as informational tools to enhance communications. These status codes are not exceptions to the 48-hour locating requirement. Not marked, no access. In a no-access situation, a locator must try to alleviate the issue and contact the excavator to coordinate alternative arrangements if necessary. Only when a mutual agreement exists can there be an exception to the 48-hour requirement. Not marked no access as a status code does not close a locate ticket. Tickets must be completed unless otherwise agreed to between excavators and locators. Standby required, not marked. All underground facility operators have the legal right to require an on-site standby with an excavator. The locator must, however, coordinate a time to meet with the excavator within the required 48-hour timeline, unless otherwise agreed upon between the excavator and locator. Not marked inadequate information may constitute an exception to the 48-hour requirement, but it does not close a ticket, and the locator must contact the excavator to coordinate arrangements for excavators to provide any necessary information, including white lining at the site. The status of not marked inadequate information can be an exception to the 48-hour locating requirement because the law requires excavators to provide adequate information. Code sections 480.41b 1 through 8 and C 1 through 8 requires an excavator to provide detailed descriptive information. Section 480.41e requires excavators to white line or pre-mark the proposed excavation site with white paint, white flags, white stakes, or a combination thereof. The options or statutory exceptions being virtual white lining, pre-construction meetings, joint meets, and standbys. Additionally, clear, concise, detailed information conveyed or communicated between excavators and locators may provide an exception to the required white lining. A status of not marked inadequate information does not automatically close a ticket. Upon being contacted by a locator, an excavator must provide the necessary information and/or white lining that will enable the locator to complete the locating and marking. This may delay the locating and marking beyond the required 48-hour period, but it does not close the ticket. The locating and marking must be completed in order to close the ticket, unless otherwise agreed upon between the excavator and the locators. The question of who is responsible for no-access situations is something frequently asked by contractors and excavators. Who is responsible? Iowa Code 480.43A1 states that an operator who receives notice from Iowa One Call shall mark the horizontal location of the operator's underground facility and shall complete such locating and marking within 48 hours, unless otherwise agreed upon by the operator and the excavator. The code provides for no statutory exception for no access. The law is silent on this matter. The law implies that the underground facility operator must maintain the locatability of the operator's underground facilities. The law does not state that an excavator is responsible for providing access, for cutting the grass or weeds in a ditch, for alleviating the issues of poisonous, noxious weeds, or for accessing locked gates. That is the technical or black and white of the law. What's important, however, is that excavators should work with locators whenever possible to expedite the locating process and to mitigate issues. Collaboration is essential. Collaboration between all stakeholders, especially excavators and locators, has always been a fundamental key to problem solving. This is a quote from the Iowa Attorney General's office. The one-call law applies to excavators, operators, and locators. Compliance by every stakeholder is critical to the effectiveness and efficiency of the system. Beyond the black and white rules and regulations of the law, It is more crucial than ever before that excavators, operators, and locators work together to achieve common ground. Thank you for doing your part. Here is the number to the Iowa One Call Help Desk and a link to the resources page on the Iowa One Call website. And remember that you can access all of your locate tickets by going to the Iowa One Call homepage at iowaonecall.com and clicking on the Search for a Ticket link.